Hi everyone, this is Diana Canal with my final project for Biliteracy Strengthening Instruction with Literacy Squared. Happy spring break to all of you. The small body of existing research has found that bilingual students' writing develops in ways that are different than those of their monolingual English peers. This quote stood out to me in that if bilingual students' writing develops differently, then why would we use the same strategies and teaching methods as we do with monolingual learners? For that matter, why would we be teaching reading or writing the same to them as well? After studying and reading in this course in dual language, I came to understand that traditional bilingual programs that promoted sequential bilingualism did not promote the making of cross-language connections, as does Literacy Squared. Traditional bilingual programs simply taught the Spanish language, only to leave it behind to focus on the English language. Literacy Squared, a holistic biliteracy framework, allows for the simultaneous bilingual to gain growth in both languages through paired literacy and strategic teaching practices that promote the discovery of similarities and differences in the English and Spanish language. Literacy versus biliteracy. Literacy is the ability to read, write, and comprehend a written language. Biliteracy is the ability to read, write, comprehend two languages with the ability to use them flexibly and strategically. In this slide, I'm using a model of balanced literacy framework as it's so popular now. The whole language approach to learning is our initiative, our district initiative at New Braunfels ISD where I work. I'm using this biliteracy framework to show that it's being promoted in early and late exit programs as well. And there's no component for metalanguage and or oracy. Currently at our district, it's the district initiative, and Literacy Squared is simply just a resource. Just as traditional bilingual programs are simply not enough for bilingual students, neither is a balanced literacy program model. We must add strategic teaching strategies, as does Literacy Squared, in order to highlight those cross-language understandings. This should be our district initiative for dual language learners. The differences between the two are that in a balanced literacy model, they include reading, which includes read alouds, guided reading, shared reading, and independent. They also stress the maximizing of your guided reading time. Their writing component entails modeled, shared, collaborative, and independent writing, which is all great, but not enough for our bilingual students. Literacy Squared Holistic Biliteracy Model on the right-hand side uses authentic Spanish reading instruction, which includes interactive read-alouds, shared reading, teacher-led small groups, and independent reading. And it stresses the maximizing of your whole language, whole group instruction. Metalanguage is a component that metalanguage is a strategy that uses bilingual books, cognate usage, strategic use of language, and así se dice. Oracy is very important in that Lotalara and Reader's Theater help build that oracy. The writing component is just as in balanced literacy with modeled, shared, collaborative, and independent writing mixed with metalanguage, cross-language learning strategies to highlight that cross-language learning. Some metalinguistic strategies that I hope to be using with my students after analyzing their writing are the following. These metalinguistic strategies will help them to make those cross-language connections that we desire for them to discover. The two students that I'll be introducing both entered the dual language program here at New Braunfels ISD in kindergarten. They're both LEP, ECO-DIS, and at-risk students. Neither of them have left the campus or arrived from any other. Student number 1 is a female. Her name is Amaya. She has a DRA level of 30 and an EDL of 18. Amaya writes about a person she admires in English. It's clear that the way this student talks is how she speaks. She's comfortable writing in present tense in the English language, has some understanding of commas in a series. Some strategies that I may be using with her are así se dice, to show how we would say the word admire the same as admirar. Also, using those cognate strategies in the meaning of the words, meaning that admirar means to admire. Explicit instruction in present tense verbs and anchor charts as well, so that she could refer to. In this slide, Amaya is having some difficulty using pronouns in the Spanish language. She may not know which ones to use. Some strategies that I may use with her are Lo Talara strategy, highlighting when feminine and masculine pronouns are used, adding them to an anchor chart for future usage. Lo Talara can also be used to highlight possessive nouns in Spanish and English, with differences on an English and Spanish anchor chart. For example, I would use cumpleaños de George Washington versus George Washington's with the apostrophe S birthday. Collaborative and shared writing is another way to teach. Paraphrasing in the English and Spanish language. Here Amaya uses estaban nacidos versus fueron nacidos. In this slide, I will introduce Jose. He is a LEP male student. He was retained 1 year in first grade. He is at risk, eco-disadvantaged, with a DR level of 40 and an EDL of 38. His English writing sample about a time that he learned a lesson implies that he's mostly having some difficulties with phonetics in the English language. Those are some gaps that might need to be filled. He sounds much like the way that he speaks. There are no mistakes present that show that he's using what he knows in Spanish language in the English language. Some strategies that I would use would be simply to confer with him, focusing on English word work strategies and spelling patterns. Here in slide 10, Jose writes in Spanish about would he rather go to Disney World or Disneyland and why, based on his recordings of a 10-day forecast in both places. Implications here show that Jose is having some difficulty deciding when a complete thought ended and another begins. He used the word E many times. He also spelled the word I, Hay, he spelled it AI, and the word prefiero is spelled with a D. He may be confused with the soft R sound in the Spanish language because it sounds much like the D in Spanish. I also did not notice any grammatical errors in his Spanish usage, although he may be having some difficulty using the word precipitación in a sentence. For that matter, I would be using some strategies like dictado, highlighting the usage of new vocabulary such as precipitación. Lo Lara, highlighting when a complete thought ends and a new one begins. Cross-language connections to English and that we do not use and more than once in a sentence, just like E. Some strategic teaching of commonly confused words like I, Hay, I-A-Y, and I-E, A-L-L-I. Dictado highlighting the usage of the soft R and the soft D in the Spanish language would also be of some use to him. Some conclusions that I came to after studying my students' writing and pondering and thinking and reflecting on all of my students in this school year, some conclusions that I've come to are that my students are doing actually much better in the English language than in the Spanish language. I find myself being more of a language teacher, teaching the Spanish language explicitly. I feel that they've been in a program that has had some inconsistency. The program model is being or is not being given the importance of the balanced literacy initiative and what they have at our district. Although our students are doing well in the English language, they're also losing their home language. I feel this due to the inconsistency of the program and the I don't feel that there's enough strength in the community in the Spanish community, there just aren't enough advocates for the dual language program. I feel that our program is showing to be subtractive for our bilingual students, and it's a plus for our Spanish language learners. They're doing fantastic. They're making major growths in the Spanish language due to that foundation in the English language that they have. But in order for this program model to be effective, we've got to be bridging the learning with the holistic biliteracy framework, such as Literacy Squared. Balanced literacy model is just simply not enough, again, for our bilingual students. I'm going to try to be an advocate for biliteracy from the start. Literacy Squared in action is taught me so many things. I'm so happy to have taken this course and being able to have this knowledge to share with my students and with future students and with colleagues, as well as with my superiors. Thank you so much. This was a great semester.